Ekabo. Peace. Welcome, everyone. We're switching up the format here. And thank you for joining us today. And so, what we're going to do, everything we do is from mental health and wellness and traditional Black, traditional African philosophy, morals, and ethics. And so, this series is going to involve us going through the essays of the Eridelegun and pulling up stories that we could apply and readily act on today. Some things, as you see, as in African American culture or traditional American culture, is completely the opposite of how we should be acting. And our ancestors have the guide to our behavior and our protocol. So we want to speak to y'all today about the powers of words. And can you be cursing your own life by not controlling your mouth? Sometimes, we can take a look at essays and stories, and it could be so easily to say that, we got haters, or, Ifa saying I got to watch out for these people, and, I'm just surrounded by all these other people. But very seldomly do people take the time to look at themselves and see, what am I contributing that could possibly be giving this negativity an open door to affect my life. So I'm going to go through the story. And me and Uncle Fumike, we are going to give you our interpretation of how you could extract some of these principles and place it in your life. So this essay, and brothers and sisters, essay is Yoruba for poem. So it's a poem that comes from the Odù Ọ kànràn, and kànràn in the Idasha Eridelegun system, the Orisha divination system, is when we have one Cowries that's face up on the Alte. For more information or for the chant, you can please go to sheshefun.com, where you have the full chant to the poem so you can chant along. But we're just going to tell you the story. So in this story, Obatala says is that someone should pay attention because there is a woman that is fighting over an inheritance. And so they were saying that this woman had inherited something very valuable. Shaggy beads, these blue, kind of look like lapis lazuli a little bit. She inherited these beads from her mother. And so they warned her that you need to perform an elbow, a sacrifice. You need to stop doing something so that you won't shame yourself, so that sickness won't come to you, and you won't basically bring disaster to your life. So this person was named Mogede Eshu, and Mogede was fighting over an inheritance. And so she went for divination. The name of the diviners was, the ones that arms are cut off, the ones that's legs that's cut off, and one that has nothing else to lose. They were the ones that divined for Mogede. So Mogede, we don't know if she actually performed the elbow or not. The essay doesn't explicitly say, but she came across this woman. And so this woman...
She did not perform the elbow.
She didn't.
Because of the consequence of the story.
She did not perform elbow due to the consequence. And we're going to see what happens at the end. So after a while, Mogede was a child of the Uni of Ife. That's the paramount leader, the king of the Yoruba people. And she was a child of the Uni. And so after a while, her mother died. And she was supposed to inherit these shaggy beads. And so after a while, they were wondering, where are my shaggy beads? Where are my beads? And she came across this woman. And so the woman was saying, these beads are mine. The shaggy beads that you thought you were supposed to inherit belongs to me. Mogede went back and replied like, no, those are my mother's beads. Those aren't your beads. They belong to me. And the woman replied back like, no, your mother, got him here. She bought him from this market. She replied back. Mogede replied back, no, my mother didn't buy them from the market. She brought them there. So it was this big back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it was just escalating. And so, and this is what me and Okunfumike was talking about previously. There was some people, it says they in Yoruba, is that they say that they put Ogun, which can be a talisman, it could be a charm, it could be ewe, herb, medicine. They put ewe around the brim of the pots. And so the woman's like, whatever. You can just go ahead and take it, just take it with you. So when Mogede went and put her hands inside of this pot, her arms are cut off, her legs were cut off, she turned into a papaya tree, and then she ran into the forest. Strangely enough, the children of the Une of Ife, they were dancing, they were rejoicing, they were praising Mogade, they were praising the diviners, for the diviners had spoken the truth. And so, as enigmatic as it ended, this is the story of Mogade and how she turned into the papaya tree.
Yes. So, clearly, I can pull from this story the importance of this particular person may have had a taboo that is related to her temperament. So the taboo is like, you can't argue with other people. You can't be combative, argumentative, or engage in any type of altercation, that negative altercation with another person. I also find it interesting that this particular person is has some relation to SU. So let's say, if this came up for someone, they could be either or should be an initiate to SU, or
appreciate or serve, or give an offering
they
to
should
it.
be. So either they are initiated or they should be initiated to SU. This particular person is also in a position of regality. And I think that, it is well known or common knowledge that people of regality, especially in the Yoruba lineage, you don't engage with commoners or, regular citizens. You usually have a mouthpiece that speaks for you. So the fact that this particular person, who was a child of the Oni, the child of a king, saw fit to engage with someone who was a commoner who she did not know about the experience that she was having, this, false accusation that, something that she inherited belonged to someone else, was clearly out of protocol. So it was out of protocol for her in regards to her lineage, her regality. It was also out of protocol for her being a devotee or an initiate of Eshu.
Yeah, and that's some good points. And so, like you said, can you imagine if someone came to, like, an Oba, a king or a queen, and they would just start like debating with you? Like, who debates with authority? You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't have to go back and forth with those type of people.
Yeah, they could. I mean, you have some people who may jump out there, but the person of nobility knows better than to engage in that, and they have people to handle those situations or take that person away, so
staying on your throne, and that's something that I thought about as well, is that this person is governed by the laws of Eshu, and it's our belief that if you're born, everybody's born under a particular the authority of a particular Orisha, and whoever that main Orisha Arumele is like, you live in that vibration. Like, there's some things that you just cannot do, and there's some ways that you just cannot act. And it is a difficult taboo, but it's a taboo nonetheless, and everybody has a vice that they need to abide by. And this is telling you, is by you doing something as small as arguing had just irreversibly changed your life. And so this person may be riddled with sickness or with maybe a paraplegic, or some or arum, which is the supernatural negative force of illness, is that you're bringing sickness to your life by not being able to control what you were saying and find another way to navigate the situation. And as Okunfumika stated, it's like, royalty, us black folks, like, we don't act like that, regardless on what you see on reality TV and people going back and forth. It's like that had became the norm, but it's not acceptable, and
for some people. Some people can do it, but particularly this particular person, it seems to have been a taboo for this person.
Thank you for right on. And so, and I think in this situation, I would tell this person, you say something one time, And then, if you got to restate it for clarity, but after that, you leave it to the authority. And so is it, taking the person, to court, and making a civic claim, or going to Eshu, the court of the deities, going to Obatala,
a great point, because as a initiate or devotee of Eshu, you would think she would have, of course, that would have been her first action, was to take it to Eshu, as Eshu, ensures that justice is served.
Right.
He hears both parties, and does what's necessary for justice to be served. So had that person done that,
right, could have avoided
initially,
the whole scenario.
It would have avoided exactly. So protocol was just not followed,
right,
at any point. So,
and I think something that somebody reposted something that I said months ago, and they were saying that I like what was said, has it stressed that sometimes purity could be your best armor, be your best protection, or good character is your best protection. And so this whole situation could have been avoided by just not even going down that path. And so this is what I would say to that person is, to trust an issue, do your ritual and take it to the court in the spirit world, and give it to the court in the material world. But something else is that I felt like sometimes in difficult situations, and we don't know this person's financial status, but shaky beads, let's think about it. Someone had 10 ounces of gold or something like that, and someone tried to steal your gold, is that when you go through negative times, remember they said the arms were cut off, the legs were cut off, after that there was nothing else to cut off, was the name of the diviners. And so I think what Osha is saying here is that sometimes in situations to where people are desperate, it's you may cause you to act out of your character, because you're panicking under pressure, or sometimes your ethics and your morals go out the window because you feel like you lost something. You know what I'm saying? And we all been through hard times to where you get a little bit more stressed out when things are going wrong, or you may be a little bit more impatient or a little bit more angry because you think the world is falling down. But I think that the Arumale is saying here is that don't let pressure make you panic. And don't let hard times have you step out of your character norm, because that one step that she made, not only affected her, but, she was a child of the union. It affects your lineage and stuff that we do as, as individuals.
Her livelihood, her ability to make a living. Because who knows how many, how big the pot was, how many segi beads were in there. Maybe that was her way of, making money. Or, how even just using the segi beads as an asset. How, most inheritances can be assets, like a house or, land, or things that you can make more money from or grow money from, is what I'm trying to get at.
More of a passive income.
So she's no longer, yes, the pot of beads still exists, but her ability to do anything with the pot of beads, her arms were cut off, her legs were cut off.
Got nothing else to lose.
Exactly. It's what can you do now? You can't even, whatever you had planned with, for the beads, you can no longer do. So. Gotcha.
And so I guess my final thoughts, it's just as we were watching Sinners the other day, we're going to do a review on Sinners as well, but you really have to decide which world you're going to transverse, because you can't serve earth and you can't serve the spirit, or you can't serve man, or you can't serve the deities simultaneously. I think this person has to pick and choose how you're going to move forward. So are you going to move forward like an everyday person with no moral code, no standards, or are you going to move forward under the codes of Eshu, under your tutelary deity? And that choice is going to impact how the rest of your life is going to go. And so if this person would hear, I would say the same thing, is that, you got to pick and choose. If you're walking in the divine, staying in the divine. And just because you have a hard time, that doesn't mean that your rituals aren't working. It doesn't mean that the prayer's not working. It doesn't mean that the deities aren't there. It just means that, you're going through something that is like a spiritual workout to make you stronger in the end. So that would be my final thoughts.
I think also a good point of the story is having the discipline to avoid, I'm going to call it, emotional temptation. Because regardless of if it's a taboo or not, even though how dire the consequences are for breaking a tattoo, you're still tempted. Like and that's one of the challenges that you face to help develop your character, to help develop your entire person spiritually, mentally, and physically. So you'll always face those temptations and challenges. So I think this particular story, essay, definitely sheds light on the importance of staying true to your function, knowing your function, knowing what's taboo for you, knowing how dire the consequences can be, and really respecting that, of breaking your taboo. I have taboos that if I break can be extremely dire. So respecting the seriousness of that and fully comprehending the seriousness of that, and being very mindful to be disciplined in all of your interactions, because they serve to grow you, and protect you. It's not just to grow, it's to protect you. There are certain things that you may not know about yourself, but is known on, the supernatural realm that protect you from certain things, So, yeah.
And it reminds us of what our Akan language teacher would say, Wofa Kwesi, rest his spirit, he's in our room now. And he would say, the Abosoma is not going to play with you. Like, this isn't like, other cultures to where people can feel like they can say something and do something in the dark and be completely different, when it hits the light. And this is our culture as well, as you know,
or
everywhere.
Just ask for forgiveness.
And just asking them, like, please forgive me and let it go. Like, no, they're not going to play with you like that. You can't do things and just don't think there's any consequence. And then also the last thing that I would say was that in regards to witchcraft, and there's a whole lot of people, doing rituals and doing things to harm people. And I think this story is telling people that, they have to stop, because let someone, call Eshu and you've done something to someone, you were the one who put medicine around there, he's going to come for you hard. And then a lot of people think it's, it's a game, or spirituality is a joke, or it's acceptable to do rituals against somebody else's will. And the Òrìs are not going to play with you. So, if y'all know anybody, or if you're in that dilemma, I would just stop. All the energy that you should be doing is on the light side, on the right-hand side. But if you're kicking it with the left side, you're going to roll with all of those people. And I don't want that energy or those demons, following me, following my family, or following anything that we do. So again, it's making that choice. You can be on the right, on the left. There is no middle,
maintaining that gentle character. Maintaining that gentle character, no matter what.
All right. Well, thank y'all. This we'll be back, next week, and let us know in the comments if you have any questions. If you agree, if you disagree, if you made it this long, please subscribe, please like, share with your friends and your family, and we'll be here to continue to give you the wisdom of the Orisha via Osha via Olokun. Irio Odabo.